Okay, it's looking like we are live. What is going on, everybody? Next Shot Golf. What's going on? I can only imagine that is Eddie, but if it's not, what's up? Wait, now so Team Rec is also in here. I'm guessing maybe that is Caden. We've got Caden and Next Shot Golf. I mean, come on, some serious content creators going on. What's up, Caitlin? How's it going, you guys? Hey, so as you guys can tell, I strapped up the mic to go straight to my go straight here as opposed to being behind my setup. So if you guys while you're jumping in will let me know whether or not you can like if I'm too loud or not loud enough or whatever, that would be super helpful because this mic is supposed to be like kind of close to you when you talk or whatever. So I was just a little bit nervous. What up, Caitlin? Caden, what up? Caleb, what's up? Megan, what's up? Finley, hello. Finley, all I got to say is Sound of Music about to be sounding real nice next week. I got to know, how you feeling? How's all the preparation going? I can't wait to go and watch it. You sound like a sports announcer or a podcast person. I mean, hey, you got to do what you got to do, Jordan. Did you like how I did that in my even more sports announcery voice? The mic sounds great. All right, perfect. Thanks, guys. Sweet, Finley. I'm glad to hear that. Dude, so Finley, I am coming Friday, I think. This coming up Friday. Is that going to be a good one? Is that the one I should be going to or what? Also, Finley, as you respond to me on that, I found out last week because I ended up hanging out with some of the guys. It's your first one? Yes. All right. That's what I'm talking about. So you're going to be real ready to go. And I'm very excited to go and see you. I think Shannon is going the next week, but I'm going week 1, baby. But, I found out from all the guys when I hung out with them on Friday that like a ton of people were off of school last Friday. So who was off school? And if you were off school, what did you do? Because not only was school out for a lot of people on Friday, but it was also absolutely gorgeous outside. So were you off? And if you were off, did you like take advantage of it? Did you go and do stuff? Like, I think like Lucas's mom even took off work and they went on a long bike ride, which is cool. Let's see. I had a picnic with my high school friends and then rehearsal. Whoa, Finley with the high school friends. That's what I'm talking about. That sounds really fun though. That's what I'm talking about. Like optimizing a day off, optimizing a day where it's absolutely beautiful outside. Picnic is the way to go. And then, man, I bet you guys are rehearsing like absolutely crazy. Lindsay, you had a swim meet, so you had to be like inside, and not only inside. Wait, or was it outside? But if you were inside, not only is that a bummer just because you didn't get to go outside, but also because it's just so hot and toasty in there. So if you're going to be hot, you might as well be enjoying all the sunshine. I went to Virginia because I had a tournament for soccer. You played in a soccer tournament in Virginia? How did that go? I got to hear how that went. Let's see. I shot a music video for school, hanged out with you, and went to a B-Day party. Oh, yeah. How was the birthday party? It sounded like y'all were going to ride bikes and do some cool stuff like that. It sounded pretty cool. Kate said my mom took off work. So Kate, what did you guys do with your mom taking off work? It was inside, unfortunately. Yeah, truly unfortunate. But how did it go, Lindsay? I want to hear all the deets about how you swam. Were you swimming real fast on? Those are all of the swim strokes that I know. As you guys can tell, we lost all 3 games. Still, though, Stella, that's really cool to get to go to Virginia to play soccer. So that's a bummer finish, but that's still pretty cool. Caitlin, I had school, but afterwards I went to my friend's pool in her backyard. Oh, nice. So for those who, I guess Caitlin, you're the only one who actually went to an actual pool because I guess Lindsay was inside. But was the pool freezing? Because even though it's been warm for a week, it's still been cold for a long time. Let's see. No goals. People were there from Florida. Oh my gosh. I guess they had to fly there. We went shopping. There you go, Kate. That's what I'm talking about. Lindsay, I dropped in 6 out of 7 events and made finals in 4 of them, but I scratched the one today so I could go home. Gosh, Lindsay, that is a full load, but also like, I mean, going 4 of 6 when you're doing 6 total events of 7 seems overwhelming. Like, I can only think of it from like, I was watching like the college track championships and was kind of listening to them talk about how difficult it is to like run more than one event in the day. So I'm sure that's a little bit different, but even so, 6 events sounds absolutely overwhelming. What up, Shannon? We're just talking about the beautiful weekend and what everyone did on either the Friday that some people had off for school or just during the weekend. Well, it was a heated pool and they had a hot tub. Oh, that sounds great. That sounds so good. It was a really big tournament. It sounds like it was a humongous tournament. So that sounds like it at least was a great experience, even though you guys didn't play well. Like honestly, when you look back in the future, you're not going to be like when you're thinking back to that, you'll be thinking back to like the tournament where you went all the way to Virginia and played all these teams all over the nation. You won't care quite as much about how you did in the future. So still really cool. It was exhausting. I'm so happy that it's over, but one weekend. That's what I'm talking about. There you go. That's like, yeah, I remember I never swam, but I ran cross country. And I don't know if any of you guys run, but I hated running cross country. I'm so dead tired after every race. I like didn't want to run. I didn't want to do all of that stuff. But then like I still did it, like I was still on the team. And really the reason is because like, when I'm running, I'm running between like 18 to 19 minutes or whatever for a race. And then all the rest of the time is just hanging out with all my good friends. Like that was what was always really fun about like specific sports teams is just like, even though it was kind of like overwhelming or grueling or challenging, it was still honestly just really fun to be on the team. So I'm sure you guys have probably experienced that before. And hopefully, Stella, that's how you were feeling, even though it was like whatever. I mean, we played well, but they were just hard and we had a lot of fun. See, that's what I'm talking about. In between games, that's what it's all about. In between whatever you're doing, that's you're making those memes and having those building up some good friendships, all that stuff. That's really great. So the other thing that happened, and some of you in here are going to be on the inside, but those of you who are not on the inside, I'm going to ask a different question. But when I was hanging out with the guys, I went out to Bedford. And when I went out to Bedford, I was able to have beans and bubbles for the first time. I know a lot of you guys like that place, but for those of you who don't know, this is a place that has boba tea, and then it's got like all of these different coffee drinks. I got an iced mocha and it was money. So if you know that place, I want to know what you get when you go there. But if not, what I want to hear, because this is a very real, a very specific thing. When you're like super hot, maybe you just played in a soccer tournament, maybe you just swam a bunch of meat or swam a bunch of different like swim meets or whatever it is. When you're like super, super hot and you're going to go get something to drink, what do you get to drink? Like, do you go get like just like a Gatorade, or do you so for me, my answer for that would probably be a Powerade slush from Sonic. Sebastian, it was very confusing. You have to like choose all of the different flavors that you put in. Ever since you said anything about them this morning at church, I haven't stopped thinking about that place. You got to check it out, Jordan. It's pretty awesome. Even though, as Sebastian can attest in the comments, it is very confusing because you have to like choose all of these things. Cookout milkshake, Lindsay, that is an incredible one. Which cookout milkshake do you get? I want to know that from everybody else. Anybody who's had a cookout milkshake you get? I always go Reese's, and it's always the right option. Well, I go M&M, so sometimes that is the right option. Body Armor, I have not actually had one of those, Braden, so I know what you're talking about, but I've never had one before. Gatorade or ice water? Okay, keeping it classic. Starbucks strawberry acai with lemonade. Whoa, Caitlin getting absolutely fancy. You have to put up the pinky finger for that. Wow, Jordan, go just water. Great, sounds awesome. Dunkin' strawberry refresher. It's got refresher in the name. That is like the perfect idea. It's like Gatorade. Yeah, Braden, that's what I was thinking. I don't know why I've never had one before though. Now that you say that that's your go-to, it means it's clearly pretty good, and I should definitely give it a go. Oh, Lindsay, I need to try that. I get peanut butter chocolate banana milkshake. Wow, peanut butter chocolate banana milkshake. That is a lot of stuff going on in one milkshake, but it sounds really good. So, heck yeah, love it. What I know other of you guys eat cookout milkshakes. What are your go-to cookout milkshakes when you go? Duncan has a frozen milkshake that's really good. Cam, that's what I'm talking about. Is it like chocolate or is it what? Because I always rock with chocolate, honestly. Kate, you just get banana, just straight up banana. I've never had that before, but I do like banana flavored stuff. Like I like banana, like, yeah, banana pudding. Banana pudding rules. So if it tastes anything like banana pudding, then that would probably be pretty good. I'm sure if Shannon is commenting, if Connor is also in here, he's probably losing his mind right now that we're talking about cookout. Because if there's one thing to know about Connor, it's that dude loves cookout more than anyone. Those Nilla wafers at the bottom. There's Nilla wafers at the bottom of the cookout milkshake, or are we just talking about banana pudding now? Because if there's also in the milkshake, I got to try this for sure. Let's see. My mom does a lot. That's what I'm talking about. Banana pudding. Dude, you guys rock with banana pudding. Now I got to give this a go. Banana and banana pudding is so good. I also get Oreo banana, but Dylan thinks that's gross. I think that sounds pretty good. You know, like I think like chocolate something goes really well with like something fruity. Like or something that's really sweet. What about, all right, while we're on just the subject of coldness, what do y'all get if you go to like a frozen yogurt place? Or I would even say, like, if you don't eat frozen yogurt, then just if you went to like an ice cream place, what would you get? For me, for frozen yogurt, I'm like, everybody always roasts me, but I always go with the classic tart, just original tart, and I just throw chocolate chips in there. Or if price is not a factor, because the problem with putting strawberries in something is that it really ups the weight, and so it becomes a lot more expensive, obviously. But I really like throwing like strawberries and chocolate chips in there as well. I dig for them with the spoon, hidden treasures. That's what I'm talking about. Original tart and then the fruit, so I pay $1 million. Jordan, see, you agree. You get it. When you put fruit in there, it ups the poundage so much, and it becomes like extremely difficult. Mango and strawberry and pineapple flavor and a ton of toppings. Braden just goes all in. Braden says, "Give me every topping. Give me any kind of yogurt, as long as it's fruity." And I'm rolling with all of the toppings with a little bit of frozen yogurt. That's hilarious. So you're basically just going to get a bunch of candy. Oreo, mint, or vanilla. But I also like birthday cake. There you go. My brother and my dad always get the birthday cake. They absolutely love the birthday cake. Caitlin says pink lemonade with like everything on it. Yeah, and they don't cut the fruit small so it's heavy. Yeah, they do that. They do that on purpose. But yeah, Caitlin, pink lemonade. So I do like getting pink lemonade, but when I get pink lemonade, I only put in chocolate chips because it just like settles down the flavor, like that dark chocolate. I don't know if that's weird for you guys, but it's what I like. At Menchie's, you can buy a tub of original tart and put your own fruit on it at home. Honestly, balling on a budget, that is a good point. It's something that I should try, but I literally never have, and I don't really know. I need to start that, honestly, and I'll give you a shout out when I do, because that sounds absolutely incredible. But anyways, tonight with doing small groups, we're going to try. I'm going to go ahead and real quick, I'm going to run kind of back through. Let's see, vanilla chocolate swirl. Oh, that's money. I imagine. So vanilla chocolate swirl is really good. Also, just like going to, oh, guys, the soft serve. Where do you? Oh, Jason's Deli. When you can go to Jason's Deli and they'll give you soft serve ice cream for free, and you can just get that vanilla chocolate swirl. It's the greatest thing ever. But literally, guys, like I got Jason's Deli last week, and I literally completely forgot that I was able to get ice cream along with the meal, and I forgot. And I mean, I have not been so upset with myself in a long time, I must tell you. And so, yeah, it was a bad day for me because I had forgotten to get that. We rock with Jason's Deli. Oh, Cam, 10 out of 10 is definitely correct. It is so good. But yeah, anyways, so kind of to jump into our next little portion. I know that we had some of you guys were able to be there service last week. Some of you guys were able to watch the stream from home or check out the stream after. And if you are in here tonight and you weren't able to do either one of those, that is totally fine. But what I wanted to do real quick is to just kind of recap what we talked about last week, because tonight, as you guys know, these are our small group nights. And so we jump into our small groups on our Zoom calls or on our FaceTime calls, whichever ones of those that we do. And we'll have, just some small group questions. It's time to catch up, hear how everyone's doing. But then we'll actually talk about we'll talk about some of the stuff that we talked about last week. And so in case you weren't there, or in case you just need a quick reminder of what we talked about, oh, where's my thing? So I have the action. No, I had like a little piece of paper, but I don't actually need it. We talked about our boy Daniel. And so I know that Daniel's a classic guy that people talk about because he's like one of the dudes that, like Daniel and the Lion's Den is such a classic, like childhood story, whatever. But the whole book of Daniel has some really great stuff. And some clearly Daniel and his friends were in a really tough circumstance, because basically what happened is Daniel and his part of Israel, Babylon came and took over his part of Israel and then brought some of the men to try to be into the king's close guard and into try to build some companionship with some of the quote royalty, or some of the best of the best that were in Israel. And so Daniel and his friends were within that realm. And so what happened is they were brought in, and the king basically said, okay, we need to build these guys up, get them to their tip top shape. And so what I want you to do is feed them this food and give them this drink so that they can eat and drink these things so that they are able to be in the best possible shape. Well, the problem was that the food and the drink that were being offered to Daniel and his friends, who we find out are Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, three dudes who we've also heard about, which you probably have seen the old VeggieTales about that. But what ends up happening is this food and this drink are considered to be not okay to take part in for people of their faith. They were under, the Jewish people were God's chosen people at this time. And so they followed God's law. And so for them to have eaten this food would have been basically, quote, them sinning. They would have been putting shame on their God and on their family partly because some of this food was considered unclean or not able to be eaten. Other parts because part of the food that was given to them was also given as sacrifice to other gods. And so this would have been essentially kind of worshiping other gods through what they're eating. And so they said no. They said, hey, I know that if you have to kill me for saying no, then you're just going to have to kill me. But I don't care that everyone else is doing it. We know that this isn't okay. We know that this is wrong. And so we're not going to do this. They stood their ground. They said, we're not going to do this. So the guy who's supposed to give them the food was like, well, then what's going to happen? Because if you don't eat the stuff and then you don't get up to the same shape that everyone else is, then I'm going to get killed. It's not going to be you guys getting hurt. It's going to be me getting hurt. And so they say, all right. So Daniel says, give it a test, give it some days. And after, I think 10 days, of them only eating whatever they were eating, the vegetables that they were eating, and not eating any of the other food that the men were eating, then they were considered the top of the top in their physical. And then they were the Lord had granted them wisdom to be able to great knowledge and great wisdom of even dreams and things of that nature. And so they actually were given status among the kings. Daniel actually was given a status to where he actually had a relationship with the king, where the king would go to him and trusted and confided in Daniel. And because of that, Daniel was able to speak on behalf of God, our God, the one true God, because of what had happened. And so we looked at that story, not only because it's a really cool story, and obviously not to say, hey, we've been talking a lot about eating and drinking things, not to do all of that and to say, hey, like there are things you should or shouldn't eat. And if you are or aren't doing that, then you are like disobeying God. But it's to say that, look at these dudes, look at Daniel and his friends. What had happened was they were tempted to do something that they knew was wrong. Their temptation came in a way of, hey, look, literally everyone else is doing it. It's what everyone else is doing it. No one else sees a problem with it. Everyone else thinks it's completely okay. Why don't you just join them in doing this thing? They were also tempted, obviously, in a way of being like, yo, like, you could be in big trouble if you don't do this, or you could lose your life if you do this. Obviously, I would say our temptations normally aren't you could lose your life if you don't abide by this certain temptation. But how often do we get tempted in those ways, right? When we go to school, there's a lot of people who are doing things or saying things that we know we shouldn't be doing. And sometimes when everyone else is doing it, when it seems like everyone else but you thinks it's okay or thinks it's right, then sometimes it's a lot harder to say no, right? We don't always have our small group people right next to us, or like we're in whatever that realm is, or we're seeing, like other people are doing this, they're cheating, or they're talking bad about somebody, they're doing whatever, and it's hard to not to, right? Same at home. Your parents are getting a little bit annoying, and instead of showing them grace or being loving to them, you fly off the handle and go off on them, or your brother or your sister, little or older, or at your teams and on your casts and whatever it might be. There's all of these things that we're tempted with, and guess what, guys? If we're not ready to receive those temptations, if we don't decide now that, hey, I want to be this person. I don't want to be somebody who falls under these temptations. I want to be somebody who walks in love and shows love to people and builds people up and encourages people and not tears them down. I want to be somebody who says no to these things that I know are wrong when the temptation seems so big. And when that happens, guess what? When we decide now, and when we decide to take our faith seriously, and we say in our hearts and we press on towards God, and we let God take over our hearts, then when those temptation comes, we're already ready for those. We're already ready to fight those battles. I guarantee you that if Daniel and his buddies, if they wouldn't have already been completely confident in their faith and in the fact that they weren't going to be tempted in this way, if they received that temptation and were not ready for it in their hearts, they probably just would have said okay and done what they knew was wrong. In the same way for us, we need to make our decision right now that we are going to abide in our faith and what God is calling us to, pressing on towards Him, and then also saying yes to what we should say yes to and saying no to things that we should say no to. The other thing I think is really cool is that I think that if it was just one of them, that probably they would have had a lot harder time not falling under the temptation. But instead, they had each other. And in the same way, we have each other, right? We have our youth group and we have our small groups and we have our friends that also love the Lord. And when we choose to go out into the world and when we make these decisions, we have people who can walk with us and who can help us and help us to stand firm and to not fall under all of those temptations. And guess what, guys? Just like Daniel, when we choose to be different, when we choose to say no to temptations, when we choose to love somebody instead of tearing somebody down, when we choose to build people up and encouraging people instead of being hateful to other people, then we get to be a voice and we get to be the love of Christ that someone is able to see that maybe otherwise wouldn't. It's infectious, right? Kindness and love and all of those things, especially when other people aren't showing them, is infectious and it's beautiful and it's awesome to look at. And so that's what we talked about last week. We talked about Daniel. We talked about him in those different ways. Now, what I want you guys to do is to head out, to jump into small groups and to just talk about that. Not only talking about story, but you guys know me, and some of you guys are a little bit newer, so maybe you haven't heard me say this, but as much as I love that you understand what we're talking about, the whole goal is to apply it to your life. So as we're talking about these temptations and as we're talking about what we can do, I want you to get personal with it. Think about this week or this month or this year. What can you do to make sure that you stand firm in what you believe in? What can you do to make sure that you don't fall under those temptations? Thank y'all so much for joining in this. I know for all I have sent out, most of you guys probably already have the link to the small groups that we're going to be doing. If not, then you can hit me up, or if your parents are on the email list, then I also have sent out links to the small group to all of your parents as well, so you can hit them up as well. Caitlin, are we having Meta? Caitlin, we are actually in the process of figuring out what Meta is going to look like right now. So you should have some details on that pretty shortly. Obviously, it's going to look different, like I don't imagine we're going to be able to have like everybody is staying under one roof and doing all of that stuff. But we are going to figure out doing Meta however we can to where we're staying safe, but also able to all get together and literally have as much fun as possible. So good question, Caitlin. Be on the lookout for that. It's going to happen at you'll hear more details soon enough. But guys, thank y'all for joining in. We have middle school girls, you'll be in a group. High school girls, you'll be in a group. And then all the fellas, we're going to be together on FaceTime like we always are. Thank y'all so much for joining. Next week is in person. I can't wait to see all that or the stream for that. But other than that, man, have awesome weeks. Dudes, I'll see you guys in the small group. And other than that, I can't wait to see you guys soon. I'll talk to y'all later. And Finley, I'll see you on Friday in your performance. I can't wait. See you guys.